Well, Detroit Tigers fans finally have a conclusion as they received news of what finally went down between Skubal and the Tigers as one of the most significant arbitration outcomes in franchise history. Tarik Skubal, who is the back-to-back American League Cy Young Award winner and the ace of the Tigers rotation, won his salary arbitration case and was awarded a record-setting $32 million for the 2026 season. We're going to break this down because there's a lot of stuff going on with this. This is a huge figure. And it wasn't just a win for Tarik personally, it shattered previous arbitration salary records as well. Not only for pitchers, but for arbitration eligible players, period. It surpassed the previous high of $31 million set by Juan Soto and dwarfed the old panel award pitcher mark of roughly $19.9 million. The backdrop here with all this is truly fascinating because Skubal entered the arbitration after the Tigers and his camp failed to reach a settlement, which we're all very well aware of. And the Tigers had filed a relatively modest figure in the grand scheme, which was around $19 million. While Skubal, rightfully leveraging his dominant resume that includes 2 straight Cy Youngs and elite strikeout and ERA numbers from the last 2 years, pushed for $32 million. And because MLB arbitration requires a panel to either choose the team's figure or the player's figure and cannot pick a midpoint, the panel, as we now know, decided to side with Tarik Skubal. And so that decision not only sets a new benchmark, but it also underlines that players with special accomplishments, like consecutive Cy Youngs, can effectively argue their value against the entire market of MLB salaries if they have enough service time. And in this case, he did. Now, from a purely baseball standpoint, I think this changes the narrative around Skubal heading into the 2026 season significantly because on the field, the Tigers already boasted one of the American League's most intimidating rotations with Skubal at the top. And hours before that arbitration hearing concluded, the Tigers also signed Framber Valdez to a 3-year, $115 million deal. This news broke last night. We covered it last night. And that means Detroit now has not just one, but 2 high-end lefties at the front of their staff. A luxury few teams in baseball can boast. Skubal's Cy Young caliber performance in 2024 and 2025, where he led the league in ERA, WHIP, and strikeouts, paired with Valdez, who is a veteran, that gives Detroit a legitimate chance to compete every 5th and 6th day and keep them in the conversation as American League contenders and potential postseason threats. I'm very excited about this. This is something an organization does that wants to win it all. But there's a second layer here that makes this arbitration outcome much bigger than just Skubal's 2026 paycheck. By winning such a historic award, he reset expectations for elite players who go through arbitration. This isn't just about Tarik's value. It's about how the collective bargaining system is interpreted and what future players might be able to argue if they're similarly accomplished. Reports indicate that Skubal's camp leaned heavily on a seldom used provision that players with significant service time can compare themselves to any MLB player, not only other arbitration eligibles, which allowed him to frame his worth alongside pitchers earning $35 million, $36 million, and more. And the panel agreed. And that's a seismic shift. Teams across the league are surely watching this closely, I can tell you. But all of this does raise interesting questions about his future beyond just this arbitration year because he'll be free to hit free agency after the 2026 season. And with this arbitration win, plus his back-to-back AL Cy Youngs, the expectation is he'll command a historic contract next winter, potentially surpassing even the biggest pitcher contracts we've ever seen in baseball. Now, whether that happens in Detroit or elsewhere remains to be seen, but this arbitration outcome puts him in the driver's seat. There's also a bit of clubhouse and front office drama to unpack as well, because Arbitration hearings are adversarial by nature, and some around the club hinted that this might have impacted Skubal's relationship with the Tigers. Now, I don't know about that. I've got mixed feelings, and especially when you combine this with the organization's willingness to spend so freely on Valdez shortly after, I mean, it's just kind of confusing. Now, some analysts around the league are wondering whether Detroit will double down and try to keep Skubal long term, or instead view him as a valuable trade piece at the deadline if they think they can't meet his free agent demands. And so while there's no indication of a concrete trade plan, those questions are almost certain to swirl as we inch closer to opening day here. And so for the Tigers' 2026 season outlook, this result forces a few strategic considerations. On one hand, locking in Skubal as the staff ace with a salary that reflects his elite performance obviously signals Detroit's commitment to winning now. But on the other hand, this team has to juggle payroll flexibility and the looming possibility of losing Skubal after the season should extension talks go nowhere. And they very well could. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I can't imagine anyone would be after all this. But that balancing act could dictate Detroit's competitiveness in the division and in the postseason. Now, overall, this arbitration result isn't just news for Skubal, it's news for baseball. It's a historic moment that highlights players' leverage, the evolving use of the arbitration system, and how elite performance can translate into financial reward even before a player reaches free agency. Now, for Tigers fans, I think it shores up both optimism for 2026, and it also sets the stage for what could be a dramatic offseason and in-season storyline, because finally, we are beyond this, and now the Tigers are going to have to pay him. And so when Skubal takes the mound this April, it won't be just as Detroit's ace, but as arguably the most talked about arbitration victor in recent Major League Baseball memory. Keep it locked. You're listening to Midnight Sports Detroit.